Hey, Miss Mary White. Not me popping on here, and this is literally the first comment I see. My apologies. My apologies. Stall me out, please. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. Hey, everybody. Thank y'all for joining the live. Please smash that like button on your way in. It's a free way to support the channel. So please hit the like button on your way in. Hi, sweet essence. How are you? Miss Mary, not you in the comments dragging me. She said I'm on CPT time. Mm-mm. I was coming, y'all. I had to get stuff ready. Y'all know stuff always got to go wrong at the last minute. Look, hold your horses. Hold your horses. I'm coming. Hi, Lifetime 64. How y'all doing tonight? Hi, Miss Pris 49. How are you? How y'all doing tonight? Okay. Yes. We got to get to it. We're going to get right into it, y'all. We ain't going to wait for nobody. They're going to have to catch the replay. If you're here, hit that like button. Okay, so I know y'all seen the thumbnail. Yes, Miss Mary, well, I know. It's in good fun. Believe me, I already know. So yes, baby, I was scrolling, trying to keep up for the updates on the case regarding Maury Scott from Love and Marriage Huntsville and his defamation lawsuit that he filed in the the Madison County Circuit Court that is in Alabama, of course. And we do have an update for today. So that's what we're going to be getting into this case right here. The last update we went over, well, we didn't go over the documents, but I told you guys that BT had her attorneys file a motion because OWN's motion for clarification was granted, and they ended up canceling the March 2026 court date, the status hearing they had scheduled for that. So Black Titanic filed a motion in the case trying to get them to still hold the hearing. I don't know what she thinks that hearing is going to do, but OWN is long gone. They're not coming back. So she's just wasting her time at that point, in my opinion. So I want to say that all of the information, all of my commentary will be in my very own opinion, but we will be reading through a couple of these court documents. That is not in my opinion. I will put that on the screen. You guys can read along. We're going to stick to the facts on that. But my commentary will be my very own opinion. Everything else regarding the court documents can be found on AlaCourt, okay? We do not spread misleading information when it comes to court documents, because unlike some people, we know that is illegal. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. So let's put the first one, documents, on the screen. So yes, it looks like Black Titanic can, get a chance. The coach then finally took her out the game. She's kind of like sitting on the bench right now. Another defendant has stepped forward in the case, and that will be the defendant that we know as Anonymous, y'all. So y'all can see that this document, it just differs very little up there in the top right corner. We know that it usually is electronically filed. So these court documents were actually filed in office. So it looks like Anonymous went down to the Alabama courthouse in person and filed these documents. And so this right here is her objection. And we're going to just get straight into it. So we see Maury Scott is listed as the plaintiff. We see Anonymous, Black Titanic, Here for Hot Tea, and the other three businesses he recently added to the case as defendants as of January the 4th, which is the Instant Checkmate, Intellis, and True Finder LLC. So the document reads: Defendant S. McNeil, aka Anonymous, objection to plaintiff's request for approval for the second amended complaint filed January 26th. Filed January 4th, 2026, pursuant to Rule 15 of the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure. Comes now Defendant S. McNeil, aka Anonymous, pro se, and she is pro se representing herself in the case, and submits her objection to plaintiff Maurice J. Scott Sr.'s request to approve for request of approval of the second amended complaint filed January 4th, 2026, pursuant to Rule 15 of the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure. In support, defendant states the following. So the introduction. Plaintiff Maurice J. Scott Sr. seeks approval of a second amended complaint filed January 4th, 2026, under the guise of Rule 15, Liberal Amendment Policy. While Rule 15 of the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure allow amendments when justice so requires, it does not grant an automatic right to amend, particularly where the amendment is futile and prejudicial, repetitive, or asserted in bad faith. For the reasons set forth below, the court should decline to approve plaintiff's second amended complaint. Number two, although amendments are generally permitted, Alabama courts constantly hold that leave to amend may be denied when the amendment will be futile, that is, when it fails to cure legal deficiencies or will still be subject to dismissal. Here, plaintiff's second amended complaint reasserts the same conclusory allegations already challenged, adds volume, not substance, fails to cure deficiencies related to privilege, opinion, causation, and pleadings standards. An amendment that merely repackages defective claims does not advance justice and need not be approved. Number three, the approval of the second amended complaint would impose undue prejudice on defendant by expanding allegations without adding material new facts, prolonging litigation through serial amendments. The nerve at the Black Titanic was in these courts filing for amendments. It says forcing defendant to repeatedly respond to substantively identical claims. Rule 15 does not permit amendments that unfairly burden opposing parties or function as a litigation tactic rather than a good faith effort to correct deficiencies. Plaintiff Maurice J. Scott Sr. has already amended once on February 26, 2024, and now seeks approval of yet another pleading that relies on the same alleged statements, involves the same parties, advances the same legal theories. Courts are not required to permit endless amendments where the plaintiff has already had ample opportunity to state a viable claim. Repeated amendments that fail to meaningfully alter the legal posture of the case reflect dilatory motives, not justice. Furthermore, plaintiff alleges that the cause of action against said defendant occurred on or around June 19, 2023 in his complaints. Alabama Code Section 6-2-38 requires defamation, libel, slander, and invasion of privacy torts to commence within 2 years from the date of publication. See Alabama Code 6-2-38K and I-2024. Plaintiff has to file his second amended complaint by June 19th, 2025 to be within the statute of limitations. Plaintiff's second amended complaint filed on January 4th, 2026 is beyond the 2-year statute of limitation, and this court lacks jurisdiction as a result. The amendment does not satisfy pleading standards. Even if approved, the plaintiff's second amended complaint filed January 4th, 2026 continues to rely on a broad characterization rather than a specific actionable fact, fails to adequately plead actual malice as to each defendant individually, conflates protected opinion and actionable statements of fact. Because the proposed amendment would remain vulnerable to dismissal under Rule 12b-6 of the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure, approval would be inefficient use of judicial resources. Rule 15's liable standard is not limitless. Rule 15 is intended to facilitate adjudication on the merits, not to excuse legally insufficient pleadings or reward repeated failures to plead viable claims. Whereas here, the proposed amendment is futile, causes prejudice, repeats prior defects, and delays resolution. In conclusion, Plaintiff Maurice J. Scott Sr. has not demonstrated that approval of the second amended complaint under Rule 15 of the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure would serve justice. To the contrary, the proposed amendment would prolong litigation, prejudice defendants, and fail to cure substantive legal defects. Accordingly, the court should decline to approve the second amended complaint and proceed to rule on the pending motions based on the operative pleadings. Wherefore, defendant S. McNeil, aka Anonymous, prays to the court that one deny approval of plaintiff's second amended complaint filed January 4th, 2026, and 2, grant such further relief as the court deems just and proper. And it was dated January 17th, 2026. And it said, respectfully submitted, S. McNeil, pro se, aka Anonymous, YouTube subscriber, former to Black Titanic. I don't know why she had to put former to Black Titanic. And YouTube content creation channel, Black Titanic. So that was the first motion, y'all. That was her motion to object. So she is objecting to Maurice Scott's amended complaint that he filed. Let's see what y'all saying. She filed another motion we're going to get into as well. Lifetime, shake my damn head at the desperation of these of these scammers. How long are all these grifters going to go on? They need a job like everyone else has to do. Yeah, I don't know. And she's saying that he's outside of the statute of limitation. But I thought that his original defamation case was, stayed because Black Titanic's countersuit, she kept trying to go after OWN. Now, I don't know. That's what I thought. These are my opinions. I don't know if that's true, but they weren't really, they've been going back and forth for over a year just under Black Titanic's countersuit. No one has been filing anything really in the case, the original case that Maurice filed, because everybody was dealing with that countersuit, and Black Titanic kept submitting amendments to bring OWN back on. So I don't know if the case was actually stayed, because I don't know why else she would say that. So I don't think Maurice was outside of the statute of limitation if the case was stayed. She forgets his evidence has been laid out in the Missouri case. She has a different statement in her own case against Maurice. She tried to sue him in Missouri. I remember her adding Maurice to that lawsuit. She added, I thought she tried to add OWN too, but I remember her adding Maurice and some bloggers over there. So yeah, that's crazy. So that was her objection. Now let's get to this other motion that she filed. Put that on the screen. Make it big so I can see. I'm trying to see it, y'all. So again, we see that this was also filed in the office. It's stamped up there in the top right hand corner. And it was filed in office January 28th, 2026. And we see it has the clerk's name under there. So this was filed in person. And again, Maurice is the plaintiff with all of the defendants: Anonymous, Black Titanic, Here for Hot Tea, and the 3 companies. So after her motion, after her objection, she also filed this one today. And this is a motion to file defendant's responsive pleading to plaintiff's second amended complaint filed on January 4th, 2026, out of time. So the document reads: pursuant to Rule 26B of the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure, the defendant, S. McNeil, aka Anonymous, pro se, moves the court for an order permitting the defendant to file her responsive pleadings to the plaintiff's second amended complaint filed on January 4th, 2026. In the above captioned action out of time, the motion for permission for defendant to file her responsive pleading to the plaintiff's second amended complaint filed on January 4th, 2026 is made after the time permitted for such an answer to be filed. But the failure to file her answer within the allotted time was a result of an excusable neglect. The basis of the motion is set forth in the following facts. 1. On January 4th, 2026, plaintiff filed his second amended complaint. Plaintiff submitted a certificate of service indicating he served the defendant by U.S. mail on or about January 4th, 2026. Number 2, the response to plaintiff's second amended complaint is due within 10 days or by January 14th, 2026, if properly served to defendants. Number 3, plaintiff did not timely serve either by mail or by email his second amended complaint filed on January 14th, 2026. I think she meant January complaint filed on January 14th, 2026. He filed it on January 4th. Okay, so I think that's just a little error. As required under the constitutional due process, both federally and under Alabama law and under local court rules. Number 4, defendant S. McNeil believes plaintiff has violated constitutional due process provisions both federally and under Alabama law and local court rules for service of his filed pleadings to pro se defendant in this case. To pro se defendants. She got an S on there. Who else pro se on the case? Number 5, said defendant is submitting the following responsive pleading to preserve keeping this matter contested. A. 1. Defendant S. McNeil, aka Anonymous, objection to plaintiff's request for approval of the second amended complaint filed January 4th, 2026, pursuant to Rule 15 of the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure. B. 2. Defendant S. McNeil, aka Anonymous, motion to dismiss plaintiff Maurice J. Scott second amended complaint for lack of subject matter jurisdiction. Failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted, and failure to join a party under Rule 19 pursuant to Rules 12B1, 12B6, and 12B7 of the Alabama Rules of Civil Procedure, respectively, and or in the alternative, defendant S. McNeil, aka Anonymous, answers with an affirmative defense to plaintiff Maurice J. Scott Sr., a second amended complaint filed January 4th, 2026. The defendant just recently received a copy of plaintiff's second amended complaint, representing excusable neglect in not remitting a timely response to the court by January 14th, 2026 is deadline. Number 7, said defendant wants to preserve her rights to contest the plaintiff's second amended complaint. Number 8, said defendant requests that the courts allow her responsive pleadings to be submitted out of time with the court accordingly. Wherefore, defendant prays that the court enters an ordering that the court enters an order granting her motion to permit defendant S. McNeil, aka Anonymous, to file her responsive pleadings to the plaintiff second amended complaint filed January 4th, 2026, out of time, and for such other and further relief as the court may deem just in this premises, dated the 17th. So the documents is dated the 17th, but she didn't file them until today. And down there, she put respectively submitted by herself, and even in her certificate of service, I couldn't show it because she had it's the some personal information on there, like addresses and stuff like that. But she still is insisting that Maurice Jefferson Scott is also Maurice Rasheen Scott, because that's the person that they claim was the drug kingpin. And they said Maurice had his name changed and got the case sealed. So the person they found this record on was Maurice Rasheen Scott. So yeah, I just found it crazy that even in her document, even though she's, getting sued for defamation, and he said multiple times that that isn't him, and he's suing them for defamation for that fact, that she still is sticking to her guns, and she's like, no baby, this is Maurice Rasheen Scott. So she's been referring to him as both Maurice Jefferson Scott and Maurice Rasheen Scott. And so then she also filed a motion to dismiss. So she's trying to get his complaint dismissed, and she filed the objection. She wants it to be dismissed. And she filed her the second one we looked at, because she was supposed to do it within 10 days. So she's actually out of the time limit that was set for her. So she's asking the court to allow her to still submit her response to him. And so that's really what all she submitted today. I wanted to bring to you guys. Let's see what y'all see. She's trying to defend defendants. She is no longer an attorney. She should only be speaking for herself. Yeah, I thought that license got snatched. I guess she said, well, I can still represent myself, pro se. I can assume lifetime. No, she did not. The court know that. Mm-hmm. That must be a mailbox in the sky address. And that's another thing, these are just my opinions, but she's claiming that she didn't get her documents that Maurice was supposed to mail her, but he has been sending her documents since the case has been going on. And even in Black Titanic's countersuit, when they filed documents in that, when they were filing documents in that case, they were also sending them to her as well. She was always listed in the certificate of service. So I just find it a little ironic that particular motion she's saying that she didn't receive, that he didn't properly serve it upon her. But they've been listing that same address for her under all the motions that have been filed in both cases. So it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of ironic that now that he filed his amended complaint, she's saying that, oh, I didn't get that one. She ain't had no problem with getting none of the other ones, but she's saying I didn't get that one. So that's kind of weird. We'll see how what the judge thinks about that. I don't think Maurice, she asked for it to be dismissed. I don't think it's gonna get dismissed. She did the same thing in Missouri on that case. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna get dismissed, but hey, we'll see. They haven't had any luck in over 2 years in this case, and I don't think it's really going to start. Hit the like button, please. Yeah, thank you, Marcella. Tell them. Hit the like button, y'all. Even if y'all watching from the bushes, hit the like button. We just went over the documents. Anonymous took herself down to the courthouse in Alabama, and she filed several motions today. She objected to Maurice Scott's amended complaint that he submitted on the 4th of this month. She's objecting to that, and she's also asking the court to dismiss his complaint. And we went over those documents. Y'all gonna have to catch the replay, but that's here just to show y'all what documents if you're just coming in. But yeah, y'all, I don't really have too much to say about this case. I think, like I said, I think the whole case is really going nowhere fast. Maurice, if he even wins the defamation case, like what is he gonna get? He's kind of, in my opinion, he's suing people that ain't really got none. So it's like they are on all sides. They really just out here wasting the court time. And they should have known better than to take their asses up there and tie up them people's time with this case. So we shall see what's going to happen. I'll keep y'all updated on these court documents as they become available, baby. I will be bringing them to y'all. So just to support the channel, you guys, so I can keep bringing y'all update, please hit the like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Let's read some good old comments before we get out of here. Let me go back up to the top. It's a lot of y'all I miss. Oh my God, just give up already, you scammers. So I guess basically saying it's like it's somebody else's turn to step up. No, because none of the other defendants have filed anything yet. This has literally for the last 2 years been a tennis match between nobody other than Black Titanic, Maurice Scott, and OWN. Those have been the only people who have repeatedly filed motions. We know OWN got dismissed. They're not being brought back. And so it's just leaving Maurice and Black Titanic here for Hati. She hasn't filed any motions at all. I believe she's saying that she still has not been properly served. So if she wasn't, properly served, she's not going to add herself to the lawsuit. Understandable. So she hasn't filed any motions. I don't know what Maurice is going to do as far as, her and the other defendants, where I'm waiting to see if Intellis or who's the other defendant listed on here. I know it's Truefinder. It's Truefinder, Intellis, and Instant Checkmate LLC. So I'm waiting to see if and when those 3 companies are going to respond to Maurice. Just like OWN, I believe those companies are going to ask to be dismissed from the case. I don't know if Maurice's case will be as strong against those entities as it is against the bloggers, And I think when they do file a motion, they're going to just ask to be dismissed. And I'm leaning toward they'll probably get it granted. And it's still going to be left with the bloggers and Maurice. Hopefully they'll get this going, though, because she pointed out that the case started at the end of 2023. Here we are in 2026. And it's like, baby, y'all still ain't really got to the nitty gritty of nothing. Miss Mary said BT is going to lose again. I have to agree with you. And that's just based off what we've been looking. We've been keeping up with this case. All of her motions have been denied. I don't know what's going to be her defense. They've been so focused on network and trying to get some money up out of them. Like, what is going to be your defense against Maurice? Because you can't deny you did it. A lot of people, even here on YouTube, they heard the video. They were there in the live. I'm sure Maurice has a copy of the video. So it's like, you can't say you didn't do it. He asked y'all to apologize and remove the video. I don't know if she removed the video. She probably did, but she didn't apologize. And so I think that's why he went ahead and proceeded with the case. So I'm interested to hear her actual defense in the case. And she still hasn't gotten to that. She's still worried about these hearings and these motions that concern OWN. That is not, nothing's going to change in that aspect. So I don't know what her defense is going to be against Maurice in the actual case, but we shall see, y'all. So I wanted to come to y'all tonight, give y'all that quick update, give y'all some good old tea tonight. So y'all hit the like button. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And when I have some more updates and something else for us to chat about, I'll come back. I appreciate y'all for coming over here and joining me. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.